The archive room on Galactic Council Station Meridian was cold and dark. Lisa Hammond walked through the rows of stone tablets, running her fingers along the carved symbols. She had been working here for 3 years, studying the words left behind by the architects. These beings had disappeared 10,000 years ago, and no one knew why. Lisa was an archaeologist from Earth, a planet that most council species did not think much about. Humans were new to the stars, and many considered them primitive. But Lisa was smart. She could read the old languages. She could understand what the ancients had written. Beside her stood a scholar with blue skin and 4 arms, was skeptical about Lisa's work. He did not believe that old stones could tell stories that mattered. He did not believe that ancient warnings were real. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a tablet covered in dust. "These symbols appear again and again. I have found them on 7 different tablets." Looked but did not seem impressed. "It is just repeating decoration, Dr. Hammond, nothing more." Lisa shook her head. "No, this symbol means burning, this one means ones. And this phrase here, it means from the harsh world. The architects were writing about a species they feared." She pulled out her recording device and began translating the text aloud. The words were old, but Lisa understood them well. She had spent years learning this language. The translation said, "When the burning ones rise from their harsh world, the stars will not be safe. They do not think like other species. They will not surrender. They will not accept limits. They will create what others say is impossible. They cannot be stopped by force or reason." Made a sound that was like a laugh. "This is mythology, fantasy. The architects were afraid of shadows, it seems." But Lisa knew better. She knew that the architects were intelligent. They would not write warnings about nothing. They would not repeat these messages unless something real had frightened them. Lisa continued to translate. The tablets spoke of a planet called Earth, a world with terrible storms, high gravity, many predators, and a harsh sun. The architects had written about a species born on this world. These beings were strong. They were creative. They could adapt to almost anything. "What species is this?" asked, now showing some interest. "I do not know yet," Lisa said. "The tablets do not give a name, but they describe a world that matches Earth perfectly. And this symbol, this is the one the architects used for humans." The word hung in the air. Humans, the primitive species from the edge of the known space. Lisa sent her research to the Galactic Council. She expected excitement. She expected scientists and historians to want to study these tablets. Instead, the council dismissed her completely. Ambassador, a tall politician with silver skin, stood before the council and laughed at her findings. "Dr. Hammond presents us with ancient stories and calls them warnings. This is not science. This is folklore. The architects wrote about many things. Why would we believe this one story about humans? Humans are simple beings. They have only recently learned to use tools in space. They are no threat to anyone." The council agreed with. They voted to close Lisa's research project. They told her to find other work or return to Earth. But Lisa did not give up. She continued to study the tablets in her free time. She translated more and more text. The warnings grew stronger. The architects had clearly been very afraid of something. They had built defense systems. They had created barriers in space. They had hidden ancient weapons and left instructions for other species. One of those instructions was a location, a place in space where the architects had built their final defenses. The coordinates pointed to a region called the Void, a place where ships sometimes went missing, a place that most space captains avoided. Lisa sent a message to Earth. She sent it to a man named a captain in the human space program. She did not know him, but his record was good. He was brave. He was smart. He was the kind of person who might listen to her. The message took weeks to reach Earth. Received it while he was on a routine supply mission. He read Lisa's words about the architect warnings. He read her translation of the ancient text. He read about the void and the missing ships. Should have dismissed the message. It sounded crazy, but something in Lisa's research felt true to him. He had always felt that humans were capable of more than other species believed. He had always thought that humans could surprise the galaxy. Before could respond to Lisa, something happened. A distress signal came from deep space. It came from a research vessel that had entered the void. The ship was called the Aurora, and it carried 50 scientists from 3 different species. Received orders to prepare a rescue mission. He selected his best crew. There was Hayes, a pilot with incredible skills and quick thinking. There was Davis, an engineer who could fix almost anything. Together, they prepared a fast ship for the long journey into unknown space. Received one more message from Lisa. She sent him all of her research. She sent him the translations of the architect warnings. She sent him a final note that said, "Be careful. The warnings say that the void is not empty. Something is there, something that has been waiting for a very long time." Read the note and felt a chill. He did not know if Lisa was right. He did not know what was in the void. But he knew that 50 people needed help. He knew that those people were depending on him. He looked at it and said, "We launch tomorrow. Make sure everything is ready. We might not come back." Smiled, she loved a challenge, nodded. He was already checking the engines. The void was not truly empty. It was a graveyard, stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the screens showing hundreds of destroyed vessels floating in the darkness. Some were old, some were new, some were broken into small pieces, some were still burning. "My God," said from his engineering station, "how many ships are in here?" "Hundreds," replied. Her voice was quiet. She was piloting carefully, moving between the wreckage with precision. "Maybe thousands." The rescue mission had entered the void 2 days ago. They had traveled through empty space, following the distress signal. Now they understood why ships went missing here. This place was a trap or a tomb or both. Check the signal again. The Aurora was still transmitting. It was still alive somewhere in this darkness, but it was surrounded by the wreckage of many ships. "Get me information on these ships," commanded. "What species own them? How old are they?" The computer began to analyze the debris. It took time. There was so much wreckage. But slowly, patterns emerged. Some of the ships were thousands of years old. Some were from species that no longer existed. Many came from civilizations that the Galactic Council had never heard of. "This ship is," the computer announced. "Date of destruction approximately 500 years ago." "This one is from the Collective," the computer said. "Date of destruction approximately 2,000 years ago." "This one is pre-architect," the computer said. "Identification unknown. Date of destruction approximately 15,000 years ago." Looked at with concern. Something is killing ships here, something systematic, something that has been doing this for a very long time. They moved deeper into the void. The wreckage became thicker, soon had to fly between destroyed ships with careful movements. She used human intuition and creativity, making decisions that no other species would make. The pilots would calculate every movement. The pilots would follow protocols, but trusted her instincts. She flew by feeling, by sight, by judgment. Then they found the Aurora. The research vessel was still intact, but something was wrong. The ship was cold. No lights showed inside. No signals came from the crew. Docked the ship carefully and sent to check the main systems. Returned an hour later and his face was pale. "The crew is dead, Captain, all 50 of them, but they did not die from an accident. They were killed. Something came through the ship and ended every life." Felt something cold settle in his chest. "Show me." They walked through the Aurora together. The crew was positioned in strange ways. Some were in their beds, some were at their stations. Some were floating in corridors, but all of them showed the same thing. They had been killed by something that knew exactly what it was doing. Their deaths were efficient. Their deaths were purposeful. "This was not an accident," said. "This was an execution." His voice came through the communication device. "Captain, something is changing. The wreckage around us is moving. The larger pieces are moving into formation. It looks like something is waking up." Ran back to the docking airlock. Followed. They sealed the Aurora behind them and ran to their ship. "What is it?" asked. "I do not know," said. Her hands moved quickly on the flight controls. "But it is big, very big. I think it was hidden inside that asteroid field, but now it is coming out." The sensors showed a massive structure emerging from behind a cluster of asteroids. It was unlike anything had ever seen. It was shaped like a sphere, but covered in sharp edges and ancient weapon systems. It was so large that it could have held a city. Its surface was covered in patterns and symbols that hurt to look at. "That is not a ship," said. "That is a station, that is a fortress." As they watched, weapons began to activate. Ancient beam cannons rotated toward their vessel. Long-range missiles started to power up. This was a defensive system from a time when space combat was different, when weapons could destroy entire fleets. "Run," shouted. Pushed the ship into full speed, but the fortress was faster. A weapon beam crossed the space in front of them, close enough that they felt the heat on the hull. Another beam passed behind them. The fortress was testing their speed, learning their abilities. "It is firing on us," said. He was rerouting power to the shields in ways that no council ship would attempt. The odds of success were low, but did not care about odds. He cared about survival. "Come on," said to the ship, speaking to it as if it were alive. She pushed the vessel into maneuvers that should have been impossible. She flew through the asteroid field at speeds that should have torn the ship apart. But the ship held, the shields held, the engines held. Then the fortress spoke. A voice came through all their communication channels. It was old and mechanical and filled with power. It spoke in a language that should have been dead for thousands of years. But the ship's computer translated it. "The burning ones have returned. They have risen from their harsh world. The barriers have failed. Alert the galaxy. Alert all living species. The burning ones have returned. This is the first warning. This is the only warning." The message repeated again and again. The fortress was broadcasting it across all known space. Every ship, every station, every world with the ability to receive signals would hear this message. Understood what had happened. The architects had built this fortress as a warning device. When humans came to space, when humans developed enough technology to reach this place, the fortress would wake up and send the warning. The warning was not about attack or invasion. The warning was just a message. But the message was terrifying to a galaxy that had forgotten that humans existed. "We have to get out of here," shouted. She flew the ship through the asteroid field, faster than any pilot should fly. The fortress continued to fire, but its shots were aimed at something that was no longer there. The ancient weapons were designed to fight ships of an older time. They could not adjust fast enough to hunt a human pilot who flew by instinct and courage. Looked at the repeating broadcast and made a choice. He recorded the fortress's message. He recorded their coordinates. He recorded everything. Then he set the ship's course back toward Council space. "Take us home," he said to. Smiled and pushed the engines even harder. "Already doing it, Captain." Was watching the back of the ship, watching the fortress grow smaller as they escaped. He spoke quietly as if to himself. "We just proved the architects were right. We survived the unsurvivable, and now the galaxy knows we exist." Behind them, the fortress continued to broadcast its ancient warning across the stars. And on every world, every station, every vessel in known space, people heard the same message. "The burning ones have returned. The burning ones have returned. The burning ones have returned." The message reached Earth first, then it reached the Galactic Council, and in that moment the message from the fortress spread across the galaxy like fire. Every species heard the same words repeated in their own languages. "The burning ones have returned. The burning ones have returned. The burning ones have returned." Chaos erupted on thousands of worlds. The species of the Galactic Council had forgotten about the old warnings. They had forgotten about the architects and their prophecies. But now the message was being broadcast on every channel, and ancient databases were being searched for information about these burning ones. On the Council Station Meridian, the main chamber exploded into loud argument. Representatives from dozens of species shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate action. Some demanded protection. Some demanded that Earth be destroyed before humans could become a threat. Ambassador stood and pointed his finger at the human delegation. His silver skin seemed to glow with anger. "This proves what I have always said. Humans are dangerous. Humans are primitive and violent. They have awakened something in the void, and now we are all at risk." Other species joined in his accusations. The collective demanded that all human explorers be arrested. The Empire demanded that Earth be sealed off from space travel forever. Several other aggressive species called for military action. But Lisa Hammond stood up and demanded to speak. The council chamber became quiet. Lisa was small compared to many of the alien beings, but she had authority as a researcher and scientist. The council could not ignore her completely. "The message you are hearing is from an ancient fortress," Lisa said. Her voice was clear and steady. "This fortress was built by the architects 10,000 years ago. The message is not a threat from humans. The message is a warning that the architects left behind." "A warning about what?" demanded. "A warning that humans are coming to conquer us all." "No," Lisa said. "I have translated the complete text of the architect prophecies. I have studied the tablets. I know what the architects were afraid of. They were not afraid of human conquest. They were afraid of human survival." The scholar stepped forward and supported Lisa. He displayed the translated text on the council screens. The words were clear for all to see. The architects had written about a species that could not be defeated by force or numbers, a species that would find solutions to impossible problems, a species that would not surrender no matter what happened. The prophecy said, the burning ones will face extinction and choose to live. They will face overwhelming force and choose to fight. They will face darkness and choose to create light. They will see death and choose to protect others. This is why we fear them, not because they are evil, but because they cannot be stopped by anything except themselves. Lisa continued her explanation. The architects did not write these warnings because humans were aggressive. They wrote them because humans were resilient. The architects tried to seal humans away on Earth, hoping they would never develop space travel. They built the fortress in the void to trigger this warning if humans ever came to space. The warning was meant to tell the galaxy to prepare, to accept humans as equals, to work with humans instead of against them. This is absurd, said. We are supposed to believe that the great architects feared primitive humans. We are supposed to change everything based on ancient mythology. It is not mythology, said. He was still in his spacesuit, having just arrived at the council station. Behind him were and still covered in the dust of space travel. I have seen the fortress with my own eyes. It is real. The technology is real. The warning is real. Walked forward despite the protests from the aggressive species. I want to tell you what happened in the void. My crew and I flew into a graveyard of destroyed ships. Thousands of ships from thousands of years, all of them destroyed by the same fortress, all of them killed by an ancient defense system. He described the frozen aurora. He described the crew that had been executed by something efficient and cruel. He described flying through impossible odds to escape. But here is what matters, said. The fortress attacked us because we were human. It tested us. It challenged us. And we survived. We did what no other species could have done. We flew through an asteroid field at speeds that should have torn our ship apart. Our pilot used instinct and courage instead of calculation. Our engineer rerouted power in ways that broke every safety protocol. Our entire crew chose to risk death instead of accepting defeat. Looked at each member of the council. This is what the architects understood. Humans are not dangerous because we want to conquer. We are dangerous because we refuse to die. We are dangerous because we keep fighting when every calculation says we should lose. We are dangerous because we believe in tomorrow even when today looks hopeless. The council chamber fell silent. Some representatives seemed moved by words. Others still looked hostile. The expression grew darker and darker. Lisa added more evidence. She showed that humans had never attacked another species during any of their explorations. She showed that humans had always chosen cooperation and trade. She showed that humans had saved the lives of alien explorers many times, even though humans received no reward for doing so. Humans are not the enemy, Lisa said. Humans are the species that was to be unstoppable, but unstoppable does not mean evil. The prophecy warns that humans will preserve life, adapt to any environment, and refuse to accept extinction. These are the traits that the architects feared, and these are also the traits that could make the galaxy safer and stronger. But was not convinced. In fact, was angry. He had publicly declared that humans were primitive and harmless. Now Lisa had shown that the architect warnings were real. His political power was in danger. His credibility was damaged. That night made a decision that would change everything. He sent secret messages to the most aggressive species in the galaxy. The Collective, the Empire, the Confederation, others. He told them that humans were an unstoppable threat. He told them that the ancient prophecies confirmed it. He told them that the only option was to destroy Earth and eliminate all humans before the species could grow too powerful. We have one chance, said in his messages. We have a small window of time before humans develop their own weapons and defenses. After that, it will be too late. After that, humanity will be unstoppable. The aggressive species agreed. They began to mobilize, they called their fleets, they activated their weapons, they prepared for war. The attack was planned for 1 week away. No one at the Galactic Council knew about it. No one on Earth had any warning. The warning came 2 hours before the attack. An officer on military council had a change of heart, was contacted by his cousin, a ship commander named, told him everything, the plan to destroy Earth, the massive fleet being assembled, the exact time of the attack. Sent the information to immediately, received the message while he was at the human government building on Earth. He read the words and felt his heart drop. Earth had no defense systems. Earth had no space navy. Earth had no weapons that could stand against the fleets of the Galactic Council. Called for an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders, he told them the truth. In 7 hours, the sky would fill with enemy ships. In 7 hours, humanity would face extinction. The room went silent. Some leaders looked afraid, some looked angry, some looked like they wanted to give up. But stood up and said, "We are going to survive, not because we have superior weapons, we do not, not because we have superior numbers, we do not. We are going to survive because we are human, we adapt, we create, we refuse to accept defeat." He outlined a plan that was so bold, so audacious, that most species would never consider it. The plan was called Operation Exodus. Every human spacecraft, every human shuttle, every satellite, every commercial ship that could be launched would lift off immediately. Millions of humans would evacuate into space. They would scatter across the solar system. They would hide in asteroid fields. They would find shelter on remote colonies. By the time the enemy arrives, explained, Earth's population will be spread across hundreds of locations. They cannot attack all of us at once. Some of us will survive, and from survival we can rebuild. The plan was not about military victory. It was about survival. It was about making sure that humanity would not be completely wiped out in a single attack. But then Davis stepped forward with a different idea. "We do not have to just run," he said. "We can fight." Explained that Earth's position and gravitational relationship with its moon created strategic advantages. If they could repurpose certain systems, they might be able to create unexpected defenses. Communications satellites could be modified to become weapons. Power generation systems could be redirected. Industrial equipment could be converted into shields and barriers. "It will not be much," said, "but it will be something. It will buy time. It will make them pay for every inch of Earth they take." Made a decision. We do both. Half of our population evacuates. Half of our population stays to defend. We fight. We evacuate. We survive. The operation began immediately. Ships launched from every spaceport. Families boarded spacecraft. Governments evacuated. Businesses shut down. The sky filled with the fire of rocket engines as millions of humans left their home world. And his team stayed behind. They worked frantically repurposing systems, creating weapons from salvaged Council technology that had crashed on Earth over the years. Other humans joined them. Soldiers, engineers, teachers, factory workers, ordinary people who decided to stay and fight. Also chose to stay. She volunteered to pilot a modified commercial shuttle as a weapon. She would fly directly at enemy ships, attacking them with whatever weapons could create. She would stay in the fight until the enemy was stopped or she was killed. Lisa contacted. She told him about Earth's defense plan. Then she told him something else. She shared the complete location data of the architect installations that she had discovered in the ancient texts. If the enemy tried to completely annihilate Earth, if they tried to destroy humanity with absolutely everything they had, those ancient installations might activate. The consequences would be unpredictable. The fortress in the void would not be the only threat. Understood what Lisa was saying. The enemy would have to be careful. They could not simply destroy Earth. They would have to be strategic, and that gave humanity a chance. The attack came exactly on schedule. The sky above Earth turned dark as enemy ships arrived. Thousands of them. More ships than humans could count. More weapons than humans could defend against. But Operation Exodus worked. Most of humanity was already in space. The enemy could not destroy what was scattered and hidden. Some humans died. Many humans lost everything. But humanity survived. On the surface of Earth, the defense began. Improvised weapons fired upward. The satellites became shields. The power systems became weapons. It was not a conventional military battle. It was survival through creativity and desperation. Flew her ship in attacks that seemed suicidal, but she was human. She had learned from how to fly by instinct. She had learned from how to trust in impossible solutions. She attacked enemy ships with courage and precision. Other pilots joined her. They flew with weapons that barely worked. They flew with ships that had no business being in a battle. But they flew with the determination that only humans could muster. Soldiers fought through the rubble of cities. They used improvised equipment. They used guerrilla tactics. They fought in darkness and in daylight. They refused to surrender ground. They refused to surrender hope. Enemy commanders were confused by human tactics. The Council species fought by protocol and strategy. They fought by calculation and precision, but humans fought by instinct and desperation. When a human soldier was surrounded, the soldier did not surrender. The soldier found a way to escape or fight back. When a human ship was damaged, the pilots found creative ways to keep fighting. When humans were outnumbered, they found tactics to overcome the disadvantage. After 6 hours of battle, something changed. The peaceful species of the Galactic Council sent their own fleets, had convinced them to join the defense of Earth. The collective sent warships. The species that had supported Lisa's research sent military forces. They turned the tide of battle. Alliance was caught between two forces. They had expected to destroy Earth easily. Instead, they faced military opposition from both humans and the peaceful Council species. The battle turned into a true war. Enemy ships were destroyed. Enemy forces retreated, but the cost was high. Thousands of humans had died, thousands of homes had been destroyed, but Earth survived. Humanity survived. Himself was captured when his ship was disabled. He was brought to the Council station to face trial for crimes against peace. His political power was finished. His alliance was broken. Everything that had built was destroyed by the very fear he had created. Received word that the battle was won while he was in a command center deep underground. Returned from her final attack run, her ship damaged but still flying. Emerged from his engineering station, covered in burn marks but alive. They looked at each other. They had faced extinction. They had defeated impossible odds. They had proven that humans could stand against the galaxy and survive. And now everything would change. The war ended, but the work had only just begun. Earth was damaged but alive. Cities had been destroyed, but humans were already rebuilding. The planet had changed, but it had survived. And with survival came respect. The Galactic Council reformed itself completely. The old rules no longer made sense. The species that had tried to destroy humans had failed. The species that had defended humans had succeeded. It was time for a new order. Was brought before the Council to receive recognition for his leadership. The peaceful species applauded. The aggressive species that had joined Alliance were forced to acknowledge human strength. A vote was taken, and humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Humans would have a voice in the decisions that shaped the galaxy. Humans would be treated as equals. Lisa Hammond was appointed as special advisor for. She would lead the effort to study and understand the architect installations scattered across the galaxy. Her research would help the Council prepare for whatever other threats might exist in the ancient ruins. The ancient prophecies had proven to be true in ways that no one had expected, and Lisa had been right all along. Became the official liaison between humanity and the Galactic Council. His support for humans had saved lives. His willingness to trust Lisa's research had changed the course of history. Now he would work to build bridges between human culture and all the other species of the Council. His relationship with the human species would become legendary. Davis was offered a position as chief engineer for Earth's new space program. The program would be responsible for designing and building spacecraft that combined human creativity with Council technology. Accepted the position immediately. He began working with engineers from dozens of species. Together, they created designs that were unlike anything that had come before. Human engineers brought instinct and improvisation. Council engineers brought precision and calculation. The result was technology that was stronger and more effective than either species could create alone. Hayes became the commander of Earth's first military fleet. She had proven herself in battle. She had shown that humans could fly with a skill that matched any species in the galaxy. Other human pilots applied to join her fleet. They trained together. They developed tactics that combined human instinct with Council strategy. His fleet would become one of the most respected military units in known space. Received the greatest honor of all. He was offered command of the first joint Human Council exploration fleet. This fleet would be tasked with finding and studying the architect installations scattered across the galaxy. The mission would take years, maybe decades, but accepted without hesitation. He would lead humans among the stars and show the galaxy what humanity could achieve. Reconstruction began on Earth. New cities were built. New spaceports were constructed. Humans brought their creativity to the rebuilding process. New designs emerged. New ways of living were developed. Earth would be stronger than it had been before the war. In the solar system, human colonies expanded. Mars was settled. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn filled with human outposts. Asteroids were mined for resources. Humans spread across space like seeds on the wind. The galaxy learned that humans did not want to conquer. Humans simply wanted to explore and build and grow. Trade developed between humans and the council species. Human culture spread across the galaxy. Human art, human music, human stories traveled to alien worlds. In return, humans learned from the wisdom of older civilizations. The galaxy became richer because of human presence. Years passed. Lisa Hammond stood on an observation deck on Council Station Meridian, looking out at the stars. Beside her they had just returned from a mission to study a newly discovered architect installation. The prophecies had continued to reveal new information. The warnings had continued to be accurate. Below them, Earth rotated slowly. The blue world that had given birth to humanity. The harsh world that had made humans strong and resilient. That had created the burning ones. New space stations orbited the planet. Ships from dozens of species docked at the stations. Humans worked alongside aliens. Trade ships came and went. Information flowed. Culture blended. The future was being built piece by piece. "Do you remember what you told me?" Lisa asked. "On that day when we first discussed the architect warnings." Smiled, "No, but I remember what you told me. You said that the prophecies were real. You said that humanity would surprise the galaxy." "The architects understood something that the current council did not," Lisa said. "They understood that strength comes in many forms. They understood that the species that cannot be broken, that cannot be stopped, that will not accept defeat, these are the species that create the future." Looked at the stars above them, the same stars that had always shone on Earth, the same stars that had guided humans across the ocean, the same stars that had pulled humanity into space. "The architects warned that we were coming," said, "but they did not know that we were coming to help. They did not know that humans would use our strength not for conquest, but for building, not for destruction, but for creation." The prophecy had said, "When the burning ones rise, the stars will burn with their defiance, and no force in the cosmos will extinguish the light they cast." The prophecy was true, but not in the way anyone had expected. The stars had not burned in destruction. The stars had burned with possibility. The stars had burned with hope. The stars had burned with the light of humanity rising to meet its destiny. Below them, on the surface of Earth, millions of humans looked up at the night sky. They saw the same stars their ancestors had seen. But now those stars meant something different. Now those stars meant home and exploration and a future among the cosmos. The burning ones had risen, and instead of bringing darkness, they had brought light to every corner of the galaxy. The ancient prophecy had finally come true, but the story was just beginning. But had made a terrible mistake. He had underestimated how many allies humans had. He had underestimated Lisa Hammond and the peaceful species that supported them. And most importantly, he had underestimated the truth of the architect prophecy. Humans could survive anything, and humans were about to prove it to the entire galaxy. Being changed. Held Lisa's research files in his hands and looked at the star charts showing the way to the void. He thought about the architect warnings. He thought about humans being underestimated. He thought about what might happen if humans had to prove themselves to the galaxy. The ship was ready. The crew was ready. And somewhere in the darkness of space, something was also ready. Something that had been sleeping for 10,000 years, waiting for the burning ones to rise.